For thousands of years, humanity has searched its past for answers it cannot easily explain. In every corner of the ancient world, from the deserts of Mesopotamia to the valleys carved by forgotten rivers, people left behind symbols, stories, and fragments of knowledge that seem to point towards something older, deeper, and more enigmatic than the civilizations we know today. Among these echoes from the past, one name rises above the rest, a word that has survived longer than the temples built to honor it, a word spoken in myths, whispered in rituals, and carved into tablets older than recorded history. Annunaki. Who were they? No one can say for certain. To some cultures, they were divine figures, keepers of celestial order, bringers of structure and wisdom. To others, they were powerful beings who walked among humans, not as distant gods in the sky, but as rulers who shaped early society. And to many modern thinkers, they have become a symbol of the unknown, of the mysteries that lie between archaeology and myth, between what humanity remembers and what it tries to forget. This documentary does not aim to prove or disprove anything. Instead, it invites you into a realm of ideas, into the collective memory of civilizations long gone, who believed they were not alone in their early steps. Their stories describe beings descending from above, beings associated with the stars, beings credited with teaching mathematics, agriculture, architecture, and the foundations of early law. Was this poetic metaphor, divine imagination, or an attempt to describe contact with something beyond human understanding? When we explore the ruins of Sumer, we find tablets written in the world's earliest known script. Many of these tablets speak of knowledge brought suddenly, almost as if gifted. There is no gradual evolution of complex systems. They seem to appear abruptly: cities, calendars, irrigational networks, sophisticated myths. How did such leaps occur in such a short time? Historians propose explanations rooted in natural development, but the myths propose something else entirely. Across the ancient world, patterns appear where no communication should have existed. Civilizations separated by oceans, mountains, and centuries described tall beings, elongated forms, radiant presences, and teachers from the sky. These parallels may be coincidence, or they may be evidence of a shared symbolic truth carried through human imagination like a seed passed from culture to culture. But what makes the Annunaki unique is not just their presence in ancient stories, it is the reverence with which they were remembered. Unlike distant gods who lived beyond the world, the Annunaki were often depicted as physically present, walking, speaking, ruling. Their roles were not entirely divine. They existed in a space between human and celestial, between myth and memory. As we step deeper into this investigation, imagine yourself standing inside one of the great temple complexes where priests once chanted beneath high stone ceilings. Imagine the flicker of oil lamps against ancient carvings. Imagine the voices of people who believed passionately that the world they lived in was touched by something far older than themselves, something powerful, mysterious, and unforgettable. Tonight, we begin a journey, not through proven fact, but through possibility, through the symbolic architecture of humanity's earliest stories, through the spaces between myth and history, through questions that have survived longer than the answers. Perhaps the truth of the Annunaki is not about whether they existed. Perhaps the truth lies in why humanity needed them, and what these stories reveal about our origins, our fears, and our search for meaning. This is where the path begins, not with certainty, but with curiosity.
As we move deeper into the ancient world, one thing becomes increasingly clear. Early civilizations did not see themselves as the inventors of knowledge. They saw themselves as receivers of it. To them, wisdom was not discovered, it was delivered. And again, the stories point to the same enigmatic figures who appeared at the dawn of organized society. The earliest Sumerian records describe a moment known as the descent of kingship, not a gradual rise of leadership, not a slow development of society, but a sudden arrival, authority coming down from above, bestowed or delivered by beings regarded as the Annunaki. This concept appears in multiple tablets, as if the people believed that civilization itself was an inheritance from forces beyond their comprehension. What makes this particularly fascinating is how quickly these advancements appear. In historical terms, the shift from nomadic groups to structured cities is astonishingly fast. Irrigation systems, standardized measurements, complex trade routes, all appearing in what feels like an instant compared to human evolutionary timelines. Archaeologists explain this as the result of social concentration and environmental pressures. But the myths offer a different lens, that humanity's earliest knowledge came from interactions with beings far more advanced. Now imagine standing in an ancient temple complex, thousands of years ago, the air heavy with incense, torches casting wavering shadows across carved stone walls, priests reciting hymns in a language older than most alphabets. To them, these stories were not metaphors or imaginative tales. They were historical memory, an account of events passed down through generations with unwavering conviction. They believed they were telling the truth. In these temples, the Anunnaki were depicted not as omnipotent gods, but as powerful overseers, figures who guided the earliest civilizations, then withdrew, leaving humanity to shape its own destiny. This pattern appears again in Babylonian texts, where the Anunnaki are described as judges, record keepers, and stewards of cosmic order. Their presence seems to blur the line between mythological beings and ancient rulers. But what if these stories represent something else entirely? What if the Anunnaki were not meant to be taken literally as physical beings, but symbolically as embodiments of knowledge, structure, and cosmic understanding? Ancient cultures often personified natural forces or intellectual concepts, transforming them into deities or legendary figures. Perhaps the Anunnaki were a symbolic representation of humanity's sudden leap into organized life. And yet the physical descriptions remain persistent, tall, radiant, otherworldly. The same archetype reappears in distant cultures with no known connection. Some depict sky beings descending on beams of light. Others portray teachers wrapped in radiant garments, carrying tools or tablets inscribed with strange symbols. Coincidence? Parallel myth-making? Or evidence of a shared experience, interpreted differently across regions? As we explore this possibility, one thing stands out. Myths often exaggerate, but they rarely invent ideas without purpose. Every legend contains a seed of something deeper, a fear, a memory, or a question humanity struggled to understand. And when the same type of story emerges across continents, it suggests that early humans were trying to make sense of something far beyond their understanding. In many myths, the Anunnaki are described as bringing order to chaos, teaching humans how to cultivate the land, how to read the sky, how to record events. These are foundational skills that transformed humanity's relationship with the world. And the sudden appearance of these abilities raises another question. Why do we assume ancient people had no encounters that shaped their understanding? Human history is filled with gaps, moments where knowledge appears abruptly, leaving us to speculate about its true origin. Did early humans meet travelers from distant regions? Did remnants of older, more advanced cultures pass their wisdom forward? Or did natural phenomena inspire stories that later evolved into mythological figures? Whatever the answer, the Anunnaki remain a powerful symbol of humanity's curiosity. They represent the desire to understand where we come from, why society formed the way it did, and what forces shaped our earliest beliefs. Whether they were gods, rulers, teachers, or metaphors, their story endures because it speaks to something universal, the human sense that we are part of a larger, older narrative. As we continue this journey, the line between myth and memory becomes harder to distinguish. The ancient world may not have been as simple as we imagine. Its stories may not be merely imagination. Somewhere, buried under sand and silence, there may be clues that change everything we think we know about our earliest ancestors. And so we move forward, deeper into the past, deeper into the stories, deeper into the mystery of the Anunnaki.
As we journey further into the landscape of ancient memory, we begin to encounter something unexpected. Patterns not only in stories, but in structures themselves. The architecture of the ancient world holds secrets just as profound as the myths that accompanied it. Temples aligned with celestial events, monuments oriented towards solstices, and statues placed with purpose rather than aesthetics. Each stone seems to say, "We knew more than time remembers." In Mesopotamia, the earliest temples, known as ziggurats, were built with astonishing precision. Their layered, ascending shapes mirrored descriptions of celestial mountains, pathways for beings who moved between earth and sky. Whether symbolic or literal, these structures served as bridges, connections between the mortal world and something the ancient people held above themselves. The Anunnaki were often associated with the summits of these sacred towers, places reserved for rituals and communication with the divine. But this architectural symbolism isn't unique to one region. In Egypt, massive temples were aligned perfectly with cardinal directions and stars. In Mesoamerica, pyramids constructed by civilizations long after Sumer followed similar principles, alignments with heavenly bodies, with the rising and setting of the sun, with cycles that define the rhythm of existence. Why did separate cultures with no contact build structures reflecting the same cosmic awareness? Some researchers believe this is evidence of a shared ancient knowledge, a foundational understanding passed through trade, migration, or cultural diffusion. Others propose that humanity's fascination with the stars is universal, that we looked upward long before we looked inward. But mythologists offer a different interpretation, that the Anunnaki were remembered not only as rulers and teachers, but as beings associated with the cosmos itself. Their presence was intertwined with the heavens, and humanity built monuments in honor of what descended from above. As we look closer at carvings and tablets, we find depictions that scholars have debated for decades. Figures holding objects that resemble tools, tablets, or devices whose purposes remain unclear. Some images show beings lifting symbols of the sun, moon, and planets, as if demonstrating astronomical knowledge to early civilizations. Whether these depictions are literal or artistic, they reveal how ancient people understood the Anunnaki, not as distant mythological abstractions, but as figures deeply involved in the structure of their world. One of the most intriguing aspects of these myths is the repeated description of the Anunnaki as intermediaries, bridges between human and divine, matter and sky, order and chaos. They are rarely portrayed as creators of life, but rather as organizers of it. They bring structure, not genesis. Recordings describe them establishing roles, dividing responsibilities, teaching the earliest systems of governance. This suggests a kind of narrative where humanity already existed but lacked the framework needed for civilization. The Anunnaki in these stories are catalysts. Now imagine standing inside a temple, carved thousands of years ago, where priests once recited invocations meant to reach these ancient figures. The walls carry scenes that blur myth and memory, winged beings ascending, large figures granting knowledge, celestial symbols arranged with precise geometry. You feel the weight of centuries pressing from all directions, the air thick with the silence of time. In this moment, the line between mythological storytelling and lived experience becomes almost indistinguishable. And so we ask again, were the Anunnaki real, or were they symbolic representations of natural forces, storms, stars, movements of the heavens, given form so humanity could understand them? Ancient people often encoded knowledge in mythology. Story could carry astronomical or mathematical meaning far more effectively than raw numbers. Perhaps the Anunnaki represent the universe, personified so that people could relate to the vastness of the cosmos. But even if the Anunnaki were metaphors, their impact is undeniable. Their stories shaped how early civilizations viewed leadership, justice, and the origins of society. They influenced the design of temples, the positions of cities, and the rituals that governed daily life. Humans built their world around these beings, real or imagined. It's also possible that the Anunnaki represent memories of earlier cultures, civilizations that rose and fell long before written history, whose achievements seemed supernatural to those who followed. Knowledge passed through fragments, misunderstood, reframed as myth. When a society encounters remnants of a more advanced one, legend often fills the gaps. The truth may never be known, but the persistence of the Anunnaki across centuries suggests something enduring, an idea powerful enough to survive time, war, and the decay of entire civilizations. Their influence remains etched in stone and preserved in stories, waiting for those who dare to interpret them. As we close this third chapter of our journey, the mystery only deepens. The symbols of the past continue to whisper, hinting that the ancient world may have been more interconnected, more knowledgeable, and more mysterious than we ever imagined. The question is no longer, were the Anunnaki real, but why their story refuses to disappear.
As we move into the deeper layers of this mystery, we begin to notice something unexpected. Patterns not in architecture or mythology alone, but in the way ancient civilizations viewed knowledge itself. To them, knowledge was never random. It was structured, deliberate, descending in stages, as if humanity were climbing a staircase built long before they arrived. In many ancient texts, knowledge is described as a gift granted at specific moments in history. Agriculture appears with an almost sudden sophistication. Writing emerges not gradually, but abruptly, fully formed, with rules, symbols, and meanings that seem too advanced for a society that had previously relied on simple marks and oral tradition. Law codes, astronomical charts, complex myths with internal logic, these all appear within a narrow window of time. It is as though someone turned a page in human development and the world collectively stepped into a new era. The story of the Anunnaki often centers on this moment of transition. According to mythological interpretations, they were the ones who taught early humans the arts of governance, architecture, mathematics, and agriculture. They brought order where there had been only survival. Whether interpreted literally or symbolically, these myths speak to a transformation so dramatic it feels almost intentional. Consider the ancient libraries, places like the famed repositories of tablets in Mesopotamia. Many of these archives contain texts that referenced even older documents, now lost to time. Some tablets describe knowledge from before the flood, a phrase repeated in several cultures with surprising consistency. Flood myths appear across continents,
often linked to the idea of an earlier civilization that vanished. Could these stories be echoes of a real event remembered in mythic form? Or are they simply humanity's way of explaining the cycles of destruction and renewal that shaped the world? The idea of a forgotten pre-flood era has fascinated historians and researchers for decades. And in many of these accounts, the Anunnaki appear as guardians or witnesses, figures who existed before the catastrophe and who passed knowledge forward afterward. This narrative could symbolize the transfer of information from one generation to the next, or something more enigmatic. One of the striking elements of the Anunnaki mythology is the emphasis on lineage and succession. Ancient texts describe them as having roles, hierarchies, responsibilities. They operated within a system, almost like a governing council, deciding the fate of human settlements, assigning regions, and overseeing the flow of knowledge. This structure resembles not the randomness of myth, but the organization of a society with rules and order. Whether divine or metaphorical, the Anunnaki were not portrayed as chaotic forces. They were portrayed as intentional. As we walk through museum halls today, studying artifacts left behind by these early civilizations, it's easy to forget that every object once held meaning far beyond its aesthetic value. A clay tablet might seem simple, yet on its surface rests a worldview shaped by beliefs older than most religions. A carved figure may represent more than art. It may be a visual memory of something ancient people felt compelled to preserve. Across thousands of years, we see depictions of beings with elongated forms, standing beside humans, guiding them, instructing them. Some scholars argue these images are purely symbolic. Others believe they portray an idealized version of authority, figures meant to embody the power and wisdom of rulers. But there remains a third possibility, one that exists between symbolism and literal interpretation, that ancient people remembered something they could not fully describe and chose the language of myth to express it. Every civilization has its golden age, a period remembered as a time when knowledge was abundant and humanity lived in harmony with forces beyond itself. These golden ages almost always end suddenly, sometimes through war, sometimes through environmental collapse, sometimes through stories of divine withdrawal. The Anunnaki myths often describe such a moment, the departure of beings who once walked among humans. After their departure, myths emphasize humanity's struggle as if the world had lost its guiding light. And yet, the memory persisted. Even after temples fell, languages evolved, and empires faded, the stories continued to be told, passed from grandfather to grandson, from priest to apprentice, from storyteller to traveler. They survived because they carried something powerful, something that resonated with the human desire to understand our place in the cosmos. The further we explore these ancient memories, the clearer it becomes that the Anunnaki are not simply characters in a long-forgotten myth. They are symbols of humanity's oldest questions. Where did we come from? Why did civilization arise when it did? What forces shaped our early world? And most importantly, are we truly alone or part of a larger story that stretches far beyond recorded time? As we step out of this chapter, we carry these questions with us. The answers may be buried in ruins, hidden in symbols, or scattered in fragments across cultures. But the truth, whatever it may be, continues to call from the depths of antiquity. The journey continues into the next chapter, where myth and memory begin to blur, and the possibility of a forgotten past grows stronger with every step we take.
As we descend further into the layered depths of ancient tradition, we encounter a theme that appears again and again: the idea of hidden knowledge, preserved not for the masses, but for the few who were deemed ready. This concept traces its roots across continents, appearing in temples, scrolls, and oral traditions that all hint at the same mysterious truth. The world once carried secrets that were not meant for everyone. In many cultures, knowledge was guarded by a class of priests or scholars. These individuals served as intermediaries between the divine and the human world, mediating rituals, interpreting omens, and safeguarding texts that only they were allowed to read. The Annunaki often appear in these stories not simply as beings of power, but as custodians of knowledge, keepers of truths that humanity could access only through discipline, ritual, or spiritual preparation. But what kind of knowledge were they believed to possess? Ancient writings frequently mention ideas that stretch beyond the everyday concerns of early civilization, concepts relating to the stars, to cycles of time, to the movement of celestial bodies. Some texts describe knowledge engraved in the heavens, suggesting that the Anunnaki were associated with understanding the cosmos. Whether this knowledge was astronomical or symbolic, ancient people saw it as something beyond their reach, something that had to be revealed, not discovered. In this context, the temples built by early civilizations take on a new significance. They were not merely places of worship, they were repositories of encoded wisdom. The architecture itself seems intentional, carefully aligned with astronomical events, constructed with mathematical precision, decorated with symbols that continue to puzzle researchers today. These structures appear to function almost like books built from stone, vast, unspoken narratives about the relationship between humanity and the cosmos. And yet the question remains, why hide knowledge instead of sharing it openly? One explanation offered by mythologists is that ancient people believed the world operated in cycles, periods of illumination followed by periods of darkness. Certain teachings were considered too dangerous or too powerful to be known during times of instability. Knowledge was treated as both a gift and a burden. Another possibility is practical rather than mystical. Early civilizations depended on stability. Too much knowledge in the hands of too many might have threatened established hierarchies. Priests and rulers controlled access to wisdom because knowledge was power, and power, once distributed, changes everything. In the stories of the Anunnaki, we often find an underlying tension between generosity and restriction. On one hand, they bring humanity the tools of civilization: writing, law, agriculture, astronomy. On the other, they impose boundaries, determining who may learn and who must remain in ignorance. These stories mirror the dynamics of real societies, where advancements are often accompanied by new forms of control. But there is another layer to explore: the idea that some knowledge was hidden not out of fear or hierarchy, but out of reverence. Ancient people believed that certain truths were too vast, too sacred, perhaps even too dangerous for ordinary minds. Mysteries of creation, of existence, of cosmic order. These were not subjects to be passed lightly from one generation to the next. They were guarded, protected, entrusted only to those who demonstrated humility and discipline. As we sift through the fragments of ancient memory, it becomes increasingly evident that the Anunnaki myth is not simply a story about beings from the sky. It is a story about the human relationship with mystery. We seek answers, but fear what those answers might mean. We crave understanding, yet instinctively guard the things we hold sacred. Knowledge becomes both a beacon and a threshold, a light that reveals, but also blinds. Consider the ancient libraries, where scribes spent countless hours copying, preserving, and interpreting texts. Many of these documents were encoded in symbolic language, readable only by those trained in specific traditions. Scholars today still struggle to decipher certain tablets, not because the writing is unclear, but because the meaning was deliberately encrypted. Knowledge was hidden in plain sight, disguised as mythology, poetry, or ritual. It is in these encoded stories that the Anunnaki appear most prominently, described not as conquerors or deities, but as teachers who walked a delicate line between revelation and concealment. They offered guidance, but not mastery. They lit the path, but did not reveal the destination. This duality creates the tension that defines their myth. The Anunnaki represent both the gift of civilization and the limits placed upon it. They symbolize the idea that humanity's advancement was never entirely its own doing, nor was it ever free from boundaries. And so, when we listen to the echoes of these tales today, we're confronted with a profound question. Is the concept of hidden knowledge merely a reflection of ancient power structures? Or does it hint at the possibility that humanity truly encountered something beyond itself, something that shared wisdom selectively, intentionally, purposefully? As we prepare to enter the final chapter of this journey, the mystery is no longer about the Anunnaki themselves. It is about us, about why these stories survived, why they continue to fascinate, and what they reveal about humanity's relentless search for truth. Because perhaps the greatest mystery of all is why the ancient world felt compelled to whisper its secrets across the ages.
As we approach the end of this long journey through ancient memory, a quiet realization begins to take shape. The search for the Anunnaki has never been only about the beings themselves. It has always been about us, about the human desire to anchor our existence to something greater, older, and more meaningful than the world we see today. Throughout history, civilizations have tried to make sense of their origins. They asked the same questions we continue to ask. Where did knowledge come from? Why did civilization emerge so suddenly? And why do so many stories point toward teachers who appeared from beyond the ordinary world? The Anunnaki myths may not give definitive answers, yet they carry a weight that simple folklore rarely holds. They endure not because they are factual, but because they speak to something deeply rooted in the human imagination, a sense that we inherited a world already rich with meaning, a world touched by forces beyond our understanding. In these myths, the Anunnaki occupy a unique space. They are neither fully gods nor mere mortals. They move between realms, between sky and earth, between knowledge and mystery, between the visible and the unseen. Their role is not to rule forever, but to guide, to shape, and eventually to step away. This pattern echoes across cultures. Beings who arrived, transformed the world, and then departed, leaving humanity to continue the story alone. Whether these figures represent cosmic forces, ancient rulers, or symbolic narratives, one thing remains undeniable. The people who preserved these stories believed profoundly in their significance. For them, the Anunnaki were not just characters, they were explanations, answers to questions too large to ignore. As we reflect on the vast temples and sacred tablets left behind, we begin to sense the emotional spirit of the ancient world. These were people who looked at the stars with wonder, who saw time as a cycle, who felt that life was connected to a greater cosmic order. Their myths were not fantasies, they were frameworks for understanding, and the Anunnaki were woven into these frameworks as symbols of structure, wisdom, and the mysterious origins of human society.
In this final chapter, we return to the idea that ancient knowledge was both revealed and concealed, that the stories we inherit are fragments, pieces of a puzzle scattered by wars, lost in fires, buried beneath sand in riverbeds. And even now, with all our technology and research, the picture remains incomplete. Perhaps it always will, but maybe that is the point. Maybe the power of these myths lies not in their clarity, but in their ambiguity. Ambiguity invites curiosity. Curiosity fuels exploration, and exploration keeps the story alive. The Anunnaki may be real, symbolic, or somewhere in between. Their existence may never be proven, and perhaps it does not need to be. What matters is the conversation they inspire, the questions they encourage us to ask. Questions about humanity's origins, our relationship with the unknown, and the forces that shape our destiny. If the ancient world teaches us anything, it is this: knowledge evolves, civilizations rise, temples fall, but the mysteries endure. And sometimes the most meaningful understanding emerges not from certainty, but from the willingness to explore the unknown with an open mind. As we close this documentary, imagine once more the ancient halls where these stories were whispered. Columns stretching toward the heavens, candles flickering in vast chambers, shadows dancing against stone carved by hands long forgotten. In these spaces, myths were not entertainment, they were memory, belief, identity. Today, they survive as echoes, faint, distant, but persistent. Echoes that invite us to lean closer, to listen, to wonder. And so the journey ends, not with answers, but with a renewed sense of possibility, a reminder that the past holds more than we can comprehend, and an invitation to keep searching, keep questioning, and keep exploring the vast landscape of human imagination. The Anunnaki may be real, but the story they left behind continues to shape us, in the questions we ask, in the myths we preserve, and in our endless fascination with the origins of our world. This is not the end of the mystery, only the end of this chapter.